Hello everyone, it's Brian here to review Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 8, Is Anybody Out There? It's the mid-season finale, and I gotta say, I really like this episode. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's nearly perfect. And I know it's gonna sound weird, a Fear episode getting this kind of a score, but I honestly think it deserves it. It's really that good. So the episode starts out with Morgan, Alicia, John, Charlie, all the other characters asking, is anybody out there on the radio? And clearly it's a flashback scene with them asking if anyone's out there, and no one picks up. But eventually, Logan does pick up on the radio. Unfortunately, Morgan and Alicia don't know that Logan's going to betray them, and I felt the scene was maybe a little unnecessary, but it did make sense for what happens later because we then flash forward to present day Logan, and eventually he had his group searching the entire factory for location plans for an oil rig or an oil field or something, and they're not happy with him. They looked everywhere and they threatened to dig a hole even for him. So even Logan is having a bad day. So anyway, we then move to the next scene that I think was necessary. And yes, Alicia is showering on screen for the first time. But besides that, Alicia is getting a decontamination shower by Grace. And I'm so glad that Alicia looks like she's going to be okay, that she is not going to die. And I am so glad because Alicia is the best character in Fear. She is the last surviving character from like the first 3 episodes or 4 episodes. And also, if you look on her left arm, you can see that she still has that tattoo from her first boyfriend. So I thought that was a neat consistency. So it looks like Alicia is going to be okay. I'm so glad. And we eventually have Morgan here, and he is trying to lead. He's trying to delay the herd and lead them somewhere else until the others finish the plane and John and Dwight come back from their trip looking for Sherry. And I gotta say, the Fear group is really capable. When they're not trying to convince a bunch of, stupid kids to come with them, they're actually very capable. I mean, they can build a plane, they can like lead herds, distract them for a while. I mean, the Fear group is, pretty good. They can do some really great things. And we have Morgan asking if Alicia's okay, and we then see John and Dwight, and eventually they're looking for any car that's going to work because they're trying to get back on time. And they check like 2 dozen cars, and John actually gets mad, like madder than I've ever seen. And that's actually really surprising. We always see John so calm, but he actually got quite mad in this scene, and I thought that was interesting. But eventually, John finds a car with a little bit of candy in it at the windshield, so he knows it's going to work, and it actually does work, surprisingly. So we then eventually get Morgan talking to Alicia and saying that he is going to train her with, his staff, and that's not just the staff. It's like it helps you, gives you peace and stuff. And I'm glad that Morgan cares about Alicia and is kind of like taking her under his wing and looking out for her because that's really nice. I'm glad these two are some of the main reasons that I watch Fear, and I'm glad this happening. So then we have Sarah trying to talk to Logan about supplying some lights for the plane runway. He doesn't budge. This scene was a little unnecessary, and honestly, I would have just punched Logan right then and there or something. I mean, yeah, like I don't like him at all. He is just a weasel. I don't trust him. Don't like him. So then we eventually get the scene with June and John, and I actually got a little emotional in this scene because the actors are really great. So John has June promise him to leave him behind if they can't make it back on time because he doesn't want her to die. He wants her to keep going for him, and I really like this scene. June is not that great of a character, but John is really great, and the actors, even both of them, for June and John, they actually give 110%. And I gotta say, I'm glad that these actors are giving 110%. I really appreciate it. It's just that the writing lately hasn't been great. I mean, like the writing for Fear hasn't been great for most of the season, but I think like this writing between them was really great. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate the actors giving so much. They really help make the show worth it. And we eventually have Daniel coming to Sarah and Wendell, and I like the scene where Sarah opens the cage for Skidmark. I love Skidmark. He's such a cool addition to the cast, like Dog from the Walking Dead show. And I have 2 cats of my own. I love Skidmark. Hope he sticks around. And Daniel eventually gives them, we don't see it, but it's a bunch of lights, maybe Christmas lights, but anyway, a bunch of lights for, the runway of the plane, and they eventually are going to set those up. So then eventually we have June and Morgan and the others. They're trying to keep the walkers at bay, but the nuclear power plant goes off, and the radiation dust is coming towards them, so they have to take off, like pretty much now. And John and Dwight managed to come back on time. They managed to find like Sherry's car or something, but no Sherry. They managed to run back on time and all get in the plane. Pretty much like no one was left behind, and they leave the area and get on the plane. So unfortunately, because it took too long, the walkers actually get stuck on the back of the plane harness, and they eventually start dragging the plane. They're carrying way too much weight, and the walkers start getting dragged. And I don't know why Morgan and John didn't just like cut the harness. I'm pretty sure they had a knife, so that was a little weird, but it was still a pretty cool scene. So anyway, we have Morgan talking to Alicia and mentioning that after this they're going to keep looking for people and helping them, but they also need to, value their own lives and keep on living themselves, which I gotta say is a really needed scene. They both chuckle and they're both, happy that they're still alive. And I gotta say, like, I'm glad we had the scene because Morgan and them do need to acknowledge that their lives are valuable too. Their lives are actually more valuable than others, or just as much. So we then eventually get, John actually proposes to June with a candy wrapper. I'm not joking that he made a ring out of a candy wrapper. And I actually really like the scene. I called it, and even though John is like not really like it's not really the right time or like a romantic type. That's the thing about John, He just doesn't do things like normal people, but he has such a good heart, good intentions, and you gotta be happy for him. You really do, and I am happy for them, for both of them. Unfortunately, a walker trips over the lights generator on the runway, and all the lights go out. So, and they're also running out of fuel on the plane. So, unfortunately, they have to land the plane like right now. And Wendell eventually he manages to get free of the walkers, and he climbs from his wheelchair to the generator and eventually puts the plug back in for the lights, saving the group. I kind of called that he was going to do that, and I'm really glad that he did. He kind of like saved everyone, made sure that no one got killed, and actually no one died, which was surprising. So the next thing we get is everyone reuniting, they're hugging, and Alicia even introduces Daniel to John. Sorry, not John. To Dwight, and she introduces Dwight to Daniel, and I like the scene where Daniel told Dwight that he has like long hair. Daniel would have a field day if he saw Daryl, which it's really funny, and looks like Daniel's going to be sticking around for a while, which I'm really glad. I hope Daniel really does stick around and become, a main character in the story. So then we get pretty much like the last moments of the episode, and Logan eventually comes back and say that his group is looking for, like the plans for the oil rigs or something, and that they're really valuable, and his group is coming for them, coming for all of them if they don't get the plans, I guess. And I guess Logan tries to make a deal with them, but honestly, I don't trust him. I think they should, maybe just like lock him up and just like ditch this place and never come back. But anyways, this was a really good episode, and I hope Fear continues this. It was really great. So that's it for my review. I'm so glad Alicia is alive. Thank you all. Bye.